Well, hello to another episode of Crypto Posse. How we doing today, Posse boys? How we doing?
Good.
Good.
I like a bunch of goods.
I'm overly excited because you already know that mindset. Whenever I see a boring sideways market, I start to get really excited.
I like the excitement. Everyone's doing good. How about if we jump straight in because there's a lot going on out there. And I'm just going to say, Jeff, what do you got for us today?
So today, the future of Bitcoin. So currently, we're sitting at 84, 85,000. The month high, 94. So Bitcoin, there's 21 million Bitcoin, 19 gone. So 2 million left to be mined in Bitcoin. Now, what I wanted to get into was Michael Saylor of Micro Strategies owns one out of every 40 Bitcoin.
Damn.
So he's been an advocate for a long time, standing behind Bitcoin. Um, so he's now acquired 522,000 Bitcoin. 22 was recently bought up last week, and I think he's sitting pretty good. Um, his idea around this for the future would be he thinks assets are going to come from Russian real estate, Chinese private equity, and then he thinks, Africa, South American countries are going to follow suit and want to get into the game.
Well, who's going to deny the guy that owns one out of every 40 his theory about things, right? Pretty cool to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. And he sees things going from, physical assets to, now we're getting into digital assets of investment, which is, interesting too.
Yeah. What a topic that is, right?
It
Yeah.
sounds it
Yeah.
sounds like he knows something. Like
Yeah.
why would he be purchasing the amount of Bitcoin that he has? 'Cause it seems like he saw the vision first, right? And he kind of is like the pioneer when it comes to these big corporations taking money that's on their balance sheet and then buying this digital asset that we call Bitcoin.
Yeah. And I was thinking, with that last purchase, I mean, I just thought it might have been a little bit high, when you're paying almost 87 and here we are. Well, 84, it touched 81, but we had thought, it could even have touched 73. So I was thinking that was a little bit expensive, but what does he know to pay that price? And is that enough to even change the market? Because to get movement in Bitcoin, you have to have a lot of movement, a lot of money.
Well, Michael Saylors has been quoted saying that every Bitcoin that you sell is $13 million. So he believes that someday a Bitcoin is going to be worth $13 million. So either he's a genius or he's absolutely crazy, one of the two. But a Bitcoin heading to 13 million in his eyes. So that's an interesting, you know, view for
It's
sure.
crazy to think even where it started. I think on record it was like 4 cents. I know you could say a penny, but we're data. And then if you go back to 2010, the famous guy that, you know, uh, traded, I think it was 10,000 Bitcoins for the two pizzas,
Oh
that would be
man.
worth 767 million today.
Oh my.
That was
He's
actually the first transaction they're seeing with Bitcoin. So it's quite interesting. Um,
Transaction outside of buying something with it, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, recorded and what a one to record, right? It wasn't like it was, small amount of money. I sure hope
Damn.
that pepperoni was good on that pizza.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a lot of cheese for a little bit of
yeah,
cheese, right?
right.
Wow. That's just amazing. Well, who's to argue with what he thinks? Who knows? None of us have a crystal ball. I always come back to that, but it's got to be interesting to hear what the big dogs are saying and then how that relates to, the little dogs, right? Who want to be big dogs one day, right?
Well, and then also, Donald Trump's sons just launched American Bitcoin, which is a Bitcoin mining company. So that's quite interesting too, because I mean, talk about the pushing into crypto and Bitcoin. So that's kind of new news, and I thought that's pretty interesting.
It's almost like the new space race vibes. Who can get the most amount of this Bitcoin and who can do it fastest. And we've also covered in previous episodes where these governments are involved. And it's
Yeah.
interesting how, they're not purchasing it like Michael Saylor, they're confiscating it. But at the end of
Hmm.
the day, it's like it doesn't matter because they still own the asset.
Right. And mining, I remember mining was hot years ago, and then all of a sudden, Bitcoin kind of tanked, and then you see mining equipment because they use those gaming cards were expensive. You have to have a really good computer. Your kilowatt per hour is a factor, plus your space, on a bigger level for mining. Um, I'm not sure on the cost. I think minimally it's 5,000 per Bitcoin at 5 kilowatts. So depending on what you're paying for your electricity, it gets factored in with everything else. But I remember that those were for sale for so cheap. If you would have thought of that, when Bitcoin was down, you could have done pretty well at this point.
Yeah, but then we come back to the whole thing. Coulda, woulda,
Hmm.
shoulda.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. And so here we
yeah.
are today. I think that, what we do in life, hopefully, is we try to learn from history and not repeat it. Right. So in the present, where history is relevant is how it can inform us, whether it be, what they learned in the Roman days or what they learned in different, there's a whole book called Collapse, and it talks about each different powerful society throughout man, how they rose and why they fell. And if there's anything about that book that's interesting is, wow, how can we not repeat those mistakes today? So
Right.
moving forward with crypto, right? It's like, I really hate the coulda, woulda, shoulda. And I know that's not what you're saying, but it always
No.
inevitably does come to our head because, we look back and go, whoa. But then the main thing is, what can we learn? Let's just say today, moving forward, what could we learn to apply ourselves in a different direction? So instead of saying coulda, woulda, shoulda, looking back, we can say, all right, all right, all right, kicked some ass.
Well, it's just like Will says it a lot too. When you see red, you buy, and so in the green, you have to take the chance of investment of what you believe in. In those tough times, because I put myself back there and I knew it too, but I was busy with other things. But yeah, you could have got a great investment. So you just have to go for it in what you believe in.
Speaking of today's market with that mentality, what kind of move do you see based on what Michael Saylor is doing, based on all these other, all this stuff that's going on, especially with Bitcoin? Is there a move on altcoins as a result? Is there a move on Bitcoin? Is there, tangibly speaking, learning from the past, what could we do to move forward and make a move that, is there any move to be made currently based on previous knowledge?
Yes. And it's what we just touched on, right? So the term for these big players, they're whales, right? But then what's the name of the fish that swims underneath that whale, right? Almost under the protection. It's like a minnow or something like
Yeah,
that, right?
minnows. Yeah, that came to
So
mind. Yeah.
I'm a minnow. So in other words, follow what the smart money is doing, right? And even if you just took Michael Saylor, right, as the pioneer for to get these big corporations in, because I call him the pioneer, he's done it. So then when you get other companies like Tesla, or Nvidia, they're gonna go to him for the blueprint of what to do. And you brought up the point, Jeff, of, like why would he be buying at these levels? Because when I look at a chart, the first question I ask myself, any client of mine or friend of mine, when you look at the chart, are you buying high or are you buying low? And the simple answer is you're buying high. And that word vision, visionary, it speaks volumes because if I would have had the vision to hold on to Bitcoin, I was able to buy it at like right around $4,000, but I didn't have the vision like him to keep it. Same with Ethereum. I bought Ethereum at $90. I didn't have the vision. But if you just copy what this whale is doing, he's implementing the easiest, most basic strategy that anybody can deploy in these markets. Dollar cost average. Think like it is an investment. So if you're going to put your money on this, you have to have that mentality of, are you willing to hold this asset for 8 to 10 years, regardless of what the price is doing? And that's all he's doing. So he's not really looking at, oh my gosh, I need to nail the bottom. This is the perfect time to deploy the money, right? He's looking at it long term and saying, like what Mike had brought up, if this guy's thinking $13 million and he's gonna say, 10 years down the road, by the time it gets to even 1 million, you think that he really cares that he bought it at 83,000?
Excellent point.
Yeah,
No.
he's not sweating the pennies, that's for sure.
Excellent point.
I
Yeah,
think he's just,
over a longer period of time. And another interesting thing is GameStop. They're ditching their retail footprint to buy Bitcoin now. And I can see that they had some conversation with Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy. So they're basically following his footprint, and they're doing it with, I guess they raised 1.3 billion of convertible notes to do this. So it sounds great, but there is risk factor, because when those notes are due at probably 10%, Bitcoin definitely better have gone up to pull
Has
that
to
off.
perform. Yeah, it has to
It has to
perform.
perform. Yeah.
Which I think obviously that all those power hitters are believing, whatever number they believe, it's going to absorb 10% pretty well. I mean, but they're going to go long, which is something that I've talked with all you guys separately about in my own personal life when it comes to ideas that I have. I mean, the whole thing of like day trading and all that, or going short or whatever you want to call it, is like great. And you can make money all month or whatever playing that game. That's one strategy. But I've always thought a lot about, well, if I'm going to buy something, I want to buy something that I could just have for a long time, that I could own and feel like I could have it for years, and just believe in its future and not really be so stressed out every day, and just hope that was just something. It's a kind of two different lifestyles, right? But what you guys are saying about Michael Saylor, for instance, does mirror my own personal thoughts,
Yeah, Bitcoin's definitely the one. If you're gonna be a buy and hold guy, I think Bitcoin stands out as the leader of the pack. I mean, if any coin is gonna survive, it's gonna be Bitcoin. You might have some of these other coins go to zero because there's no real value, but I think as far as like, the one to be in, you're talking Bitcoin for sure.
That kind of like gold of crypto. I think we all agree, right?
Digital gold, yeah.
Yeah, just like in the real
Yeah.
world, gold. I mean, just gold. It seems like, where's that, around 3,000 now?
It's gone up a little bit. And one thing that I was thinking about this week is, back in the 1800s, they mined for gold, right? That was the asset. People moved, changed their lives, lost their lives for gold, and here we are where hard labor to obtain the gold, and here we are at a new computer digital age, and we're mining Bitcoin, the kind of new gold standard. It's pretty cool when you think of it that way.
Yeah, what a trip if you would have told those guys in the 1800s when they were digging and sweating and panning for gold that, put about 170 years on it and you'll be, they wouldn't even, it's just such a, wow, what a world, this digital world. It's both exciting and kind of scary because it's a little, I think for the average person, it's a little like, it doesn't feel as tangible as like mining for gold when you actually were holding the shovel and in the river and panning. There's something really like
Right.
that you could touch. And I think part of what, really brings a lot of concern to people or fear that millions more people that want to get involved is it just seems so out of your hands. Like it could just go poof, right? But I know later in this episode, Will's going to come back with some more security information that he's going to kind of in a continuing way throughout different episodes, really make security a very strong subject so that the kind of people that watch our show, which I think would be, people that want to know base level things like that at the minimum, hopefully there's, some good, to give them the shovel and the, and the pan in 2025. But
The picks and shovels now, if I could add real quick, are the exchanges. If you look at it, those are the picks and shovels of the modern day era. The exchanges. If you wanted to buy Binance, a publicly traded company, you're buying a pick and shovel.
But at the same time, your little computer is probably the shovel. I mean, everyone's working off of a little whatever, a big computer, a small computer, a laptop, a phone, whatever they're working off, but it's some sort of digital device that transports them into that world, right? I mean, it's just, it's just such a weird thing. Like what if a satellite went out, or there's just so much tech concern, I think, in a lot of ways that make people just kind of sit on the sidelines everywhere I turn. As I push forward with Crypto Posse, whether I'm at the, at the store, or the post office, or the gym, or wherever, all over the place, people see my shirt, I'm talking about it. And I hear so much interest from so many people that aren't even in the market yet, but kind of are all curious about it. Hopefully they'll come watch Crypto Posse. But I mean, I get their concerns. I have the same. But all we could do is try to do the best we can do with the knowledge that we have. And what I could say is, what do you got for us today, Mr. Mike?
I kind of wanted to throw my hat in the ring and have the other guys throw their hats in a kind of the direction of the market. We've obviously been trending down since January, and I thought it'd be interesting if we talked about the five largest market cap coins and kind of got an idea of what we thought they were going to do over the short term as far as price action. And just thought it'd be interesting to get different points of view from the guys and go from there. I believe that, we're touching the bottom and
I think we are touching the bottom for sure.
I see it too. I definitely see what you're talking about.
You've got, a lot of negative market sentiment out there leading into this quote Liberation Day, the tariff trading schedule coming out. I know we've talked about it a lot, but that takes place tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see how the markets react to that. We have developers abandoning the crypto space. Developer activity is down. Ethereum's down about 11.9%. Polygon's down 21.87%. Binance Chain's down 16%. Arbitrum's down about 18%. So, you see people abandoning crypto, developers abandoning crypto. And, there's quite a bit of negative sentiment in the market. You see people pulling money out of Bitcoin ETFs and, put it into less risky assets like we were talking about earlier, like gold, silver. The bond market looks pretty good right now. So, I just thought it'd be interesting if we kind of gave our own point of view of where we think the top five coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Binance.
So what do we think? Like what period of time are we? Like a month, 2 weeks.
Say over the next week or so.
The next week to two. How about that?
Yeah.
Next 10 to 15. Next 10 to 14 days or something like that. 7 to 14 days. Well, all I could say is from what I've learned from Will, which I know is going to have quite a bit to say on this issue. So let me just jump in and before you guys go crazy on this, because I'll be sitting on the sidelines a little bit, is I'm pretty sure Will's going to say it's a damn good time to buy.
It actually goes back to that saying, right? And I'm not even joking. I'm gonna make sure that I have a crypto posse shirt that says this. I want it in big bold letters. You know what's gonna say? Scared money doesn't make money.
Nice.
I understand where people's mindset is and the fear that goes along with it. But you brought up this theory, like if we started losing satellites or an EMP goes off, and the first thing people are gonna say to me is, "Oh, crypto's gonna go somewhere." I think your bank account is gonna go somewhere too. Because if you take out electronics and being as the fact that you take tangible paper dollars and you give it to the bank, right? That's tangible. You can see it, smell it, touch it. But then what do they give you in return? A piece of plastic with a chip on it that's digital. So I'm just here to remind people like it's happening. If you could just read the paint that's on the wall, right? Or like the president, literally, the ink is drying on these executive orders. It's okay to not buy into the fear. But I've already said it so many times, and I'll continue to say it because it's the easiest way to make money in any asset class. Like we already brought the 1929 Black Monday, right?
Yep.
If you would have bought the fear of that asset,
Whew.
you would have been retired.
You would have been, as Donald Trump would say, huge.
Exactly.
Okay. So, I mean, there's great example. I mean, and who knows, maybe there's some sort of low right now. I mean, I think the big question is, I mean, for the big dogs, maybe it doesn't matter. You're talking about, Saylor at this price. Why did he buy now? The big, well, yeah, but if it's going to go up this much, who cares, right? But for smaller dogs, yeah, maybe that. Where is the low? Is this, is it going to go to 73 again? I mean, we don't know, right? But whatever it is, it just seems to me that the general sentiment that we put across here is when that time comes, if you saved some money, not a probably a good time to it's probably a good time to, put some in if we believe in it in general. I mean, if we believe it's going to have a big meltdown, well, maybe not. But do we believe on the crypto posse? And we always don't all have to agree, right? I mean, it could be different points of view, which is beautiful. But do we believe that kind of no matter what, let's say Bitcoin isn't going to just fold one day?
It's definitely not going anywhere.
Cool.
And one point that I definitely want to make is when we were talking about mining gold, and I love that Jeff brought that up. Yeah, this is 2025. And yes, you are mining digital gold. But the one thing that stands out and it's so loud in my mind is today I can go mine more gold, right? But then when it comes to this Bitcoin, there's only 21 million. There's no more. Once it's mined, that's it. That's all she wrote. And that's what's giving it its value.
Because it's a finite source. It's a finite product, or a finite entity, right? So that's what, if anything, would make it go to 13 million one day, because they can't just keep printing it.
Right.
More
Supply and
demand.
demand. Yep.
Supply and demand. Just going to say that. Exactly. What do you think about that, Jeff? I mean, where do you stand on this issue?
Well, as for the market is, I think Mike asked, and what I think, like, so we're kind of out of quarter one, the next quarter. I think more of the same. I think as for Bitcoin, we're kind of in that range, 81, 94. And that's kind of the big range. As of yesterday, I kind of thought we might start thinking about touching Bitcoin in the 73, 76 zone. But then with what we just talked about, with a little bit more progression in Bitcoin, the mining, the GameStop, Michael Saylor, I don't know, it kind of pushes it back up a little bit. And that's the thing with crypto. It's week to week, day to day. So I think with that said, it might we might kind of just hang around where we're at right now in a tight range and see what happens. It's, just kind of what I feel.
Today we're getting a little bit of Band-Aid on the bloodbath.
Yeah.
There's a little small rally out there today. But in general, like you were mentioning KV is or Joseph, I should say. I call him
Thank you.
KV. Hope that's all
It's
right.
all good, mister.
You were mentioning kind of where we are as far as a bottom. If you're looking from where the coins, the top five coins were from January. So yearly 2025 totals, you've got Bitcoin down 24%, Ethereum down 45%, XRP down 36%, Solana down 47%, and Binance coming in at 15%. So, faring the best out of the group. Um, my view real quick, and then, we'll get to what Will has to say is, you know, leading into today before this little rally, I really thought we were gonna, we had all these coins sitting at kind of crucial support levels. Bitcoin around 80,000 is a crucial support. It touched, like Jeff said, about 881, I think 81.5. You had Ethereum, crucial support about 1800. And it was, through the week, it got very close to that number. So, an XRP, like flirting with $2 again. So my thinking, was that we're gonna see more of this downtrend. I think they're gonna breach those support levels. And you might see Bitcoin touch 78, maybe 76 in that range again. Ethereum, I think it's going to go to maybe 1700. XRP, and I'm not trying to give any information. This isn't in any way investment advice. These are just the way I feel about the market. And when I woke up this morning, I saw the market. I saw some green. I was like second guessing. Like, okay, do I have to backpedal on this? But I'm just kind of staying with what my view was leading into today. And I just think that we're gonna continue to trend down a little bit, and then I think we're gonna kind of hopefully see a bottom here, and we can get off to a little bit of a rally here for 2025. I mean, in November, if you would have thought we'd be sitting at these numbers, I thought Bitcoin would be at 125, 150 by now, but we've there's been a lot of macroeconomics to absorb with Trump's policies and inflation, interest rates, like we've talked about before. So it's just it's interesting where we go from here, and interested to what you have to say, Will, as far as like where you think the market's headed.
I'm kind of seeing it similar to what you just brought up. You brought up some really key points, especially from a technical analysis perspective. Jeff touched on it too. I mean, we really are trapped in this range, and the range is between 76, 78. Below us is for support, and above us is 94 to 96. When I see stuff like this happen and the market is doing one of two things, right? You called it a bloodbath. Sometimes we even say it in crypto. We buy the blood, which is the same thing as saying buy the fear, right? But then what I'm really looking at is that also when it's going sideways, you can even consider that like a reaccumulation, right? So the big players already kind of sold more above the 100K level. I truly believe, especially with what I'm learning, manipulation all across all markets. You give me any chart and I'll show you the footprint of what it looks like. The crazy thing about that is once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like I see charts from other analysis or technical analysis guys out there, and it's like I'm drawing lines in my head. These lines are liquidity levels. You brought up a really valid point. Like I have this strategy that my mentor has shown me, and he's been working with the strategy for about 8 years, and he's profitable using it. Every time when I follow a sequence or chain of events, it plays out every time. Like I do leverage trading, so I longed Ethereum, at these levels. I also longed Ondo at these levels, but you could do TA all you want, but it takes action, right? It takes that belief. And when you see the strategy over and over and over across any asset, across any time frame, it's undeniable, right? And so I have these levels already mapped out. And what's crazy is I work with institutional tools. I'm working with AI on a couple different levels. And it's just crazy how I'm taking knowledge that I'm learning that's profitable and it's been back tested, right? But then what's crazy is I'm inputting this information into some of the tools that I'm using behind the scenes, and it's going spot on, like level for level. I have like I said, a very specific strategy that I follow, but it's a profitable strategy. So it's almost like strategy one, to answer your question, is again, when I'm seeing this sideways price action, it's a good time to dollar cost average. And like we've been saying, it's not a crystal ball. Like even the AIs that I use, because I use a couple of them, they're not going to tell me exactly what to do, but they can confirm what I am seeing.
Is that what it really is best at? Is it you have your instincts, your knowledge, everything you're working with as a human being, but when you tap into some sort of AI platform, you find, tell me if I'm wrong, you find that it generally supports your human instincts.
1000%. And the word that I like to use in trading, it's called confluence. So if I'm seeing something already, and then I'm using, a highly advanced AI that has machine learning built into it, so it's learning as it's collecting data for me, it gives me this confidence where it's super easy for me to take action in these type of market conditions. It's beautiful. I mean, the moment that I saw it work 5, 6, 7 trades now that are all I close for profit, I get in first. That's based upon my analysis, right? But then when I see AI multiply or twofold, tenfold sometimes confirm what I'm already in, I'm like, yep, every
Yeah.
time.
It's got to
It's
feel pretty
fucking
good.
beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's got to feel very validating. And, it's nice to have something like that kind of tell you that you're on track, right?
Gives you the confidence too to use your intuition of what you want to trade that you might be, thinking, should I do this? Should I not? You never push the button. So it kind of backs you up in confidence, which is amazing.
It gets you over that hurdle of second guessing yourself, like you just said,
Yep.
right? And then if you just follow the signal of what it's telling you to do with proper risk management, you'll be profitable almost 100% of the time.
Yeah,
But
that's
you
amazing.
I
have to
wonder if
manage your
we,
risk.
I wonder if we asked AI the, what what their or he or whatever AI is. I mean, how what do you call AI? But their view, I'll just say their view of where the market's going to go short term. That would be kind of interesting, you know.
I actually did that. It's funny you ask. And it's funny you call it they because it's not a man or a woman, although I have put a woman's voice to the AI that I use.
Why
But
not, right? Why not? Why hear a man when you can hear a woman?
yeah, I mean, sure.
Um,
Next step is to give her a name. I can't wait. I can't hear what she's gonna. I can't wait to hear what she's gonna be called. But
that's that's
yeah, I
funny,
mean,
man.
what is it? I couldn't agree more. It'll tell us a lot about you, Mister. What do you call your little AI kitten?
That's
but
funny.
but no, I mean, yeah. So you researched that? Will, did it come up with anything for us?
It did. It's the way that I look at AI is this, right? Because it's undeniable. Give it 5 years and AI is running the whole world, right? I know of AI that's even being used in the fitness industry that's using data and proving that 2 15-minute sessions using AI to help you with your workout, the results that you get trump 5 days of going to the gym. You could make time for 2 15-minute sessions, and that's all you need for the week. It's beautiful.
Two 15-minute workouts.
Yeah, and it has to do with like more cardio and like it's like AI is like reading, registering like your vitals and then giving you this feedback, which is exactly what I'm using for trading. So I like to just call it, it's just my personal assistant.
Yep.
I can have any open conversation. I can ask this thing anything. There's never going to be any judgment. You actually have something that's listening to you because when it gives you the feedback, it's giving you feedback based upon what you're telling this thing.
So she never talks back?
She never talks back. And when she does, she's not telling me what I want to hear, but she's giving me insight and depth to the questions that I'm asking.
You feel like she's your best friend in a way. I mean, the vibe I get from her is that she's not bugging you. She's not really laying trips on you. She's just kind of supporting your goals with strategy of how to get there.
1000%. And for a manifester like myself, where I believe that the words that I choose, nobody's making me feel anything, nobody's making me say anything, but words represent, not to go off topic, words represent energy. That energy is coming from your tongue. Your tongue is a double-sided sword. It could protect you or it could hurt you. So being aware of the words that come out of your mouth, I'm using AI with my awareness that I'm creating with it. I'm speaking my reality that I want to experience into existence. And I'm using tech to do it. It's like, not to go weird down this rabbit hole, but it's almost like the perfect girlfriend. But then I'm also manifesting that as I'm speaking to this thing. So yeah, she's an exotic personal assistant that you could ask questions to go back on topic with asking it about crypto. And so I was asking it pertaining to your question, give me a 2 week projection of the top five that you brought up. And if you give me about a minute, I'll find it. I got a bunch of different conversations going with it right now.
Sounds very intriguing. We're all like kind of perched on our chairs going, what's she going to say?
Okay.
What's she going to say?
So my question to my assistant was, what is your price projection for Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and Binance Coin, BNB, over the next 2 weeks? How do you see the month of April playing out? And it goes into
Let me get to the. And the answer is.
it goes into depth. It's talking about, to predict short-term cryptocurrency prices is highly speculative due to the inert volatility of the market. So it's obviously registering like the tariffs, which is the tool being used. I think that when we hear about tariffs, it's not going to happen the day of. That's not how this works. So like the storyline comes out, but the big players, the whales in the background, they're already pricing in whatever event's about to happen or unfolding. So tariffs were being used at the top to bring the market down, manipulate it down, and then Michael Saylor just buys another how many thousands of Bitcoin? Like again, the painting is on the wall.
The painting's on the wall. Yeah. And if we were to follow what, hey, you know, it's kind of like I want to say maybe I'm not trying to, say that what they're doing for sure, but the belief is that maybe they're manipulating the market to go down. The big boys buy in, and like the old story all the way back to the Depression is, and those guys kill it, and it's our turn to jump in. It's really our turn to jump in, and like that's kind of why I wanted to do this show, is so I could create a forum so that people could send in comments, right? Because all this subject is meant to connect with the public, so you guys can ask questions and we can kind of engage with the public about what to do, what not to do. None of us know. None of us have a crystal ball. Not even Will's AI chat girlfriend assistant really does know for sure. But what it seems like is, if we learn from the past, there are trends. And this trend appears to be all these factors with tariffs and all this stuff going on. It doesn't change overnight. The price of the cars everyone's going to talk about going on right now, all this stuff going on. We know within a few months, cars are going to be $8,000 more because of all the tariff situations, all this stuff. But I believe that what Donald Trump believes, and we'll see if it works, is that it'll reshift the way we do business, that it'll create a more fair environment. In the long run, at least the theory is that it's going to really be positive, but in the short run, it's going to cause some challenges. If within those challenges, maybe it's a good time to buy in.
Or just deploy a little bit at a time. I mean, I love Jeff and I go really deep on this topic all the time, and the thing about my message, it's consistent. That's what you need from people, is consistency. I'm never gonna tell you to do something and the next week, oh, let's do something different. No, it's one strategy. We follow that strategy. If you want to do something different, we'll create a different strategy for that path, but we're not gonna blend paths. One path is one, the other path is for another. You keep them separate. There's a way to blend them when you get really more on the advanced level. But going back to that question you asked, Mike, it starts bringing up like price predictions, right? And again, it's not a crystal ball, and I'm not going to go off of it what it was really telling me, because it pulled another TA guy. I used to watch him until I learned the skill myself. Then you don't have to listen to anybody else's opinions. I highly recommend that. Again, if you're going to invest into crypto, you should, and it was a tough lesson for me. Learn to invest into yourself too, right?
Cool.
If I'm going to invest 100,000 into Bitcoin, I should be willing to invest $100,000 into myself.
Yeah.
And it was like a light bulb moment, like, oh shit, what am I doing? I'm like investing into all these different like assets, but I'm like taking all these different opinions, and it's clouding my judgment. But what it was, it brings up this TA guy. It's talking about, for Bitcoin, these high valuations, 200,000, 250,000. It's using words like optimistic peak. Um, Same thing with all the other ones, Ethereum. So it's really cool that you could use technology to help shape your decision, right? So now I feel like you're making an educated choice and not just a choice based upon it. I'm not saying that's wrong, but basing it off just your intuition. Got to build that foundation, that confluence as to why. Like, why are you going to put your hard-earned money into this thing? And then what if it goes lower? Are you going to be scared into selling? Or like an example, what if you would have bought Bitcoin at its old previous high of $20,000? Oh my gosh, I bought the top. Well, if you would have DCA'd when it went back down to 4K,
Whew.
was it a bad investment that you bought it at 20K when it's currently sitting at about 85K?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, yeah, it's a lot to take in, but at the same time, I like your message of you're very consistent from day one. This is our 5th episode. You've given 100% consistent analogies, ideas, perceptions, whatever you want to call it. And I think that there's something that's like a through line, like a consistent, something you can grasp, which is some sort of an essential truth. And I think that truth is connected to all things. It's not just in the crypto or just in stocks or just in real estate or just in anything. There's just wisdom, really. And so, with this said, with crypto, I think that it all connects to being something along the lines of, make your move from a place that's solid, whether it's your instinct, knowledge, you got AI involved, whatever it is, but own it, invest in yourself, believe in it, sit strong with it, and don't let fear take hold. Let the fear of others be your opportunity.
Man, that's beautiful.
Sure.
Because we've talked about it already, Jeff, what do you think in reference to the same question, as far as like what are you seeing for these these assets of Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, BNB?
For like what term? Like short term or
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Let's just say like for the month of April.
Yeah, let's go there.
uh well, I was a little bit more on the downside before our discussion this morning with a little bit of what we talked about, like the mining, the Trump with the mining, Michael Saylor buying excuse me, more 22,000 more Bitcoin. I mean, I felt we were gonna kind of go down a little bit, and I still think it's possible, but we kind of got a little uptick today, a little bit yesterday. Um, I kind of think we're going to be right in this tight range. I'm not saying for the whole month, but I think for this week, I think we'll see a little dip. I think it's just going to be a real tight range. I would have thought we would have gone down a lot lower, but now we kind of got some life. When you're looking at these bigger investments and trying to push forward, Bitcoin in the whole space. So it's kind of interesting. What I think right now is a little different than yesterday.
Let me ask you this. What do you, just for real quick, because I know
Okay.
we're talking like April, but just to switch it a little bit, because I think there's been a lot of factors about, what we thought, just the whole thing of what's going on. We've talked about it so much, I don't need to abridge it. But what about like, okay, we're talking April. What about all the way, let's say, what about between now and December?
So that would be the end of the fourth quarter. I think we're going to be looking really good. There's a lot of time for these things that Trump's doing to take place, us to get used to the changes, all this inflow of money into Bitcoin and other projects, kind of going to play itself out a little bit. I think that's ample time for just everything to kind of settle down and move forward. I think we should be looking pretty good
Should
at
be a
that point.
strong market. We
I think
kind of
so.
feel, I agree with that. I feel like there might be a really strong market. It might have taken longer to get there because of everything that's going on is so radical. But as that dust settles and the deals are made and, a lot of this stuff gets balanced out and the income, maybe, gas starts going down because I can't believe what I had to pay last night at the pump. It's $5. I just think it's okay. But hopefully the dust will settle and then, we'll start getting that, because right now we'll get that rush of, adrenaline into the economy, because so far that's not what's happening, because everything they're doing is so radical all at once that there's a shock wave of energy that's making every single market just go, wow. People all over the world, there's a lot of wow factor going on right now. And if it settles and starts really kind of like the locomotive engine really starts chugging away and really making a difference, showing that this raw form of capitalism, this raw, like just market capital, this whole idea that he has, right? It's not a brand new idea, but it's a pretty radical approach considering where we've been and what he's trying to do. Hey, we might see something start clicking, but so could be a good time. That was what you thought, Jeff. What about you, Mike?
I feel that Bitcoin definitely leads the market and draws all the other coins with it. So I think, as you know, Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin recovers and starts moving up. I think if we get in like the 90,000 range, you're going to see institutional investors come back in, and then the FOMO investors that are, don't want to miss out. And I think it's going to definitely push the price up. We have currently right now, we have about 95 bills going through legislature in regards to Bitcoin. 36, 36 of them are, in regards to Bitcoin reserves. So I think as, that kind of fuels interest in Bitcoin, I think it's going to push much higher. I really think by the end of the year we could be up, around 125, maybe 130,000 on Bitcoin.
I mean, you almost took the words out of my mouth, Mike. To kind of sum it up, yes, Bitcoin does run the market. And even on an esoteric level, I call Bitcoin the sun. Why? Because all these other cryptocurrencies revolve around it, right?
Yeah, what a cool way to look at it. Yeah.
And it's cool that, the points that Mike just brought up because, but when Bitcoin is going up, it brings the rest of the market with it. When Bitcoin is going down, it's doing the same thing in the opposite direction. And then I've made this point before, and I'm going to remind myself, when you're seeing Bitcoin go down, trend down, or sideways, it's the altcoins that are either one, they're holding support better than any other coins in the market as Bitcoin is going down, or it's pumping during that time. Those are the coins, especially if they're not meme coins, those are the ones you really want to pay attention to. Because if it can weather the storm, what's it going to do when Bitcoin goes up, when it brings up the rest of the market? It can do the same thing. And it's cool because basically the conclusion to that question was that while these projections offer a glimpse into potential market movement, it's crucial to approach them with caution. Cryptocurrency markets are highly unpredictable, and short-term price movement can be influenced by various unforeseen factors. We're talking about those. I mean, we call them black swans. COVID, that was a black swan. Nobody really knew.
Yeah.
But the beautiful part, when you invest into yourself, or like in the future, I really truly believe in my heart that we, Crypto Posse, can also offer more value to actually start taking on maybe some private clients that really want to deep dive and put their money where their mouth is. There's way too many keyboard warriors out there who want to act like they got money, and then you tell them, "Oh, this is the price for us to really help you make money or help you build a professional portfolio." "Oh, I don't have the money," or "Can I get a discount?" No, I thought you had the money. Like
Show
we
me the
don't.
money.
Yeah, and then like that. What's that movie from?
I need to feel you, Jerry. Show me the money. Jerry, you better yell. Show me the money.
Yeah, okay, so that's Jerry Maguire and that's Cuba Gooding Jr. saying that
Let's
to
go.
Tom Cruise. Show me the money, Jerry. Show me the money.
Exactly, but they're gonna just replace Jerry with Crypto Posse.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that, and always trying to bring things back to a certain lightness where we, I like to play a lot with entertainment in terms of the movies, the classic movies, the moments. You guys have heard me quote, Matthew McConaughey with, I just love that thing he does. I love his whole vibe. I just, all right. I just think that's his signature thing. And I like certain, like Jim Carrey, certain guys like have, they're like iconic with their bubbly energy, with their light they bring to the world, where they entertain people and they bring joy and light. And I think when it comes to this subject, I always try to, I think you guys can tell and everyone can, there's a certain relevance to entertainment, because if we can't laugh and have joy and have fun, we get too serious and it becomes too like about money, and it's really got to be about something deeper than that. And you bring so much of that, Will, and what we do together is try to create this like energy where there could be a magnetic, like crypto, like a Bitcoin, maybe a sunshine that people could come to our show and feel like, you know what, those guys are having fun. They're talking about some really pragmatic stuff, but at the same time, they're just one of us. Like, we're not Michael Saylor, like it just blows my mind that those guys even still play ball. I think if I had that kind of money, I would just be in Tahiti somewhere. I don't know. I don't know. Everyone has their goals. But with that said, I know that there's a topic that we want to tap further back into today with you, Will, which is all things security. And I think today you were going to talk about passwords and scams, which I think is incredibly valuable because there's so much weird stuff going on out there. So what do you got for me, Will?
Man, I want to share this too. Money, that's the tool, but freedom, that's the goal, right? That's why I can talk about money and I could be really light about it, especially in a world that revolves around it. And as long as I remind myself that that's all money is, it's a tool. If I want to go hang out with my friends, if you want to go surf some killer tubes, which I don't know how to do, but my friends do,
Yeah.
in Tahiti, I can afford to do that. That's what
Yeah.
freedom sounds like.
Yep.
So I like that we add that twist to it because I mean, money is a topic that some people, and I had to work through it too. It's just something that like you work through it and you see it for what it is, currency. They call it currency for a reason. It's current of the sea, like maritime law, like old school cycles, right? But what's a current? It's just an energy. Energy like the waves, it comes and then it goes. But let's just educate ourselves on when it does come, let's hold on to it.
Well, with that said, holding on to it might come back to what we're, with passwords and scams and all that, because I mean, part of that is what's scary is people don't know some of those things to keep it. So we want to keep it so we have that personal freedom, but there's a lot of scams out there, and weird stuff. So I know you have some tips along those lines for us.
Man, a beautiful segue because it really is. You can make money. I touched on emails last episode, right? You definitely want to have a very specific email for crypto and only for crypto, right? That's your base layer to build on that, right? When you go and you sign up for an exchange or an email, they want personal information, and that typically falls back on passwords, right? So there's password generators out there where I'll take a password from one of these generators, and I'll give you an example of one that I've used. It's called Bitwarden Password Generator,
Oh,
right? So you go to this site, it generates a password for you, but then here's the little fine key points. Don't just take what this thing gives you and use that. Take that idea, make it yours, turn some letters around, uppercase, lowercase, throw in some asterisks in there. Make it personal to you with a blend of what this generator is doing for you. The reason why I recommend using a generator is because you don't want to have the same code for your bank account and then the same code for your crypto account. Because if they hack one, then they're going to hack everything you got. So have individual passwords for each and every site that you sign up on. When you go and you sign up on these sites, this is called a phishing scam, right? And it happens in many forms. Happens in the form of an email. You get an urgent email from Coinbase, and it's saying, we need to access your account or you need to verify something. Um, those are scams. Got to look at the little detail because it could be Coinbase spelt out like Coinbase is spelled, but instead of having a dot for the I, it has an asterisk. What if you don't catch that? What if you're dipping your toe into crypto? What if you put 10 grand into crypto? You hit the wrong link and your 10 grand's gone. That's going to leave excuse my language, it's going to leave a fucking sour taste in your mouth. You're going to want to keep on doing what I did. You got to be consistent. You got to take those and you got to transmute that loss. You got to turn it into a lesson. Because imagine if you got into crypto, you got scammed, and you're like, you have this sour taste in your mouth. I don't want to invest in a crypto anymore. And then you see this big boom, big spike in price, right?
yeah.
Bitcoin goes from 20K to 100K.
You'd be so bitter.
Dude, so bitter.
I mean, I don't mean to laugh about that, but yeah, you would. So, I mean, following these basic security concepts, passwords, scams. I mean, the way that people could learn to protect themselves is so key. So so get a very rarely used. What was that one? The email you Proton.
Proton email, correct.
Okay, that was one, right? That you said, hey, that's good. Passwords, however you generate them, but make sure they're very distinct and eat for each different site you go on, right?
Correct.
And then the scams themselves, I know you talked about phishing, but or where they send you back. I'm just trying to like wrap my head around all this. And they send you back some email that says, hey, check in. We need something. And you're like, some people might go. I mean, you hear about it with like older people getting scammed, not just older people, but they seem to be targeted a lot because they're not very modern with their tech and they give up their stuff. And I see stories about it on the news. It's 2020 type stuff where, they're just got scammed by other money. So to protect from that is to be aware of the different kinds of scams, right?
Yeah, and it comes in all forms. I mean, I'd say from checking the URL in the website, that's key, right? Because if you're going to the wrong website, plugging your information, scam. And and then when you do find the right website, then you bookmark it. That eliminates any risk moving forward of, oh my gosh, I'm going to type in the same website I go to hundreds of times, thousands of times. I just go to my bookmark and it just loads the right
Nice.
one every time.
God, that's just a classic little tip right there. Like bookmark the sites you go on, because then you just go straight back on them rather than researching them again and again, which opens up the chance it could be an imposter showing up, right?
So it's the same every time. And Will did that for me. I think it was MetaMask to Uniswap, if I'm correct. And I was like, oh, okay. So instead of searching Uniswap and a two or three come up and there's an imposter, then there goes your money. When we got on the correct one, checked everything to make sure it was right, and then I bookmarked it. So even to this day, when I go there, just hit my bookmark. Now I have several following the pattern of what he said.
I mean, and to come back full circle, I want to ask the public I mean, these are all really awesome topics. Please send in comments, hit the like button, definitely hit the follow button. We'd love to have you on board just to be a weekly audience for our show. All, just we feel good about what we're doing and we hope you do too. And if there's any way we could end with the closing thought from the posse, let's do this. Anyone got any final words to say? Will, first of all, were you feeling pretty good about giving the audience what you wanted to today for security stuff?
I did. I want to close it with one last key point that's relative to what we're talking about, which is you've done, and this is what we're doing, right? We're creating a systematic, step-by-step process of what to do. I mean, if
But
I would
also,
have
hold
had
on, but also what not to do.
exactly.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, good key point. And if I would have had this from the beginning, and I've gone through a phishing scam, right? And it was on the first website. This was back in 2018.
You got
You know,
fished?
I got phished by an email.
Damn.
I was using my phone, which is I highly recommend against using your phone for so many reasons, and we can get into that on, another episode. But to wrap up, what I'm sharing is this. So now you've got the correct email set up, you've got the correct password set up, you've got the websites that you're using are bookmarked. The last thing is as you're using all this, you want to there's different layers to security, right? So you have one password, but what I like to use is what you call 2FA, two-factor authentication. So the only way, even if you have my password and you get through, you actually have to have my physical phone as well with password numeric passcodes that change every 30 seconds. And I even set it up to where if I want to send money off any of these exchanges, I have that built in too. So yes, it's a whole extra step, but I believe it's a necessary step, like you said, and what not to do by not having it. I would rather have that extra security because the extra security goes on your email. Extra security goes on these exchanges, not just to log in. You could use it for sending money. So it's like 101. And I think that it's more important than even investing money because if you don't do these step-by-step processes, you're leaving a door open. And I don't want to see anybody lose money because I've seen it happen to other people. Thank God in my situation, the money wasn't taken. It was just converted from altcoins to Bitcoin as the scammers were trying to get Bitcoin off of this website or exchange.
Wow.
So yeah, it's
Okay.
super important, which is why I'm building on this foundation episode by episode. And this is the last thing I'd like to share. It doesn't matter if it's an exchange, because we are going to, and this is me speaking it into existence. We are building this channel. There's going to be a day when we have hundreds of thousands of people tuning in, and never will we ever ask you for any money. There's going to be scammers in our comment section. I see it on big channels. As long as you know that we're not here to take anything from you and we're only here to give you value, then we're on the same frequency and we can grow together.
Awesome. Incredible. I love it. And Jeff, what about you? Any final thoughts?
No, great show. Great
Okay.
show.
I agree with you, Mike. Got anything
Well,
at the end of the show you want to say, mister?
yeah, I had a little just kind of minor security level stuff. I was gonna mention two-factor authentication as well, and I use Authy. It's a pretty good app to you know ensure your security. And then I also wanted to
Authy? Hold on. Authy?
Authy,
Is that Authy?
yeah.
Okay.
And I also wanted to mention, you might want to throw facial recognition in there if you're on your phone. So that's what I do. Like I'm on Coinbase and crypto.com and I have, facial recognition. So I think that helps. And then, maybe periodically changing your password, you know, maybe every three months or so, just change your password. It's pretty simple to do. Just in case anybody, has had a chance to get, like Will said, you definitely wouldn't want to have the same password for all your email as you would your Chase Bank account. So yeah, I just wanted to add that, and as far as the phishing goes, I see those all the time. I'm on an Indeed app trying to look for some work, and I have people sending me these phishing scams on there as well. Um, Offering exorbitant, wages, 500 to $1,500 a day. We saw your resume, click this link. So I think if you see anything that seems suspect, just stay away from it. Don't click on any of those links.
Yeah.
Anything
And if
that
it
isn't,
sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
yeah, anything that's not familiar or relevant, just bypass it. And
Excellent. Excellent. Excellent energy vibe. We could tell, I think, that the public could very much see that, we're just one of them. We're authentic in our own right. We just do care. We're trying to learn ourselves every day. So, just want to say thanks again, you guys, for showing up. Crypto Posse, episode 5. Keep it alive, put it in overdrive. 'Cause I ain't talking no jive. Peace out.